Hi, it's Michelle and John with Living in Midwest Life. We are in Beloit today at a new property here in South Beloit that we're actually pretty excited about. It's an older home. It's going to be fun to see what value we can put back into this property.
Yeah, these are always interesting properties. You don't have as much of a budget here. You got a lower top end price than sometimes we're used to. So you got to be more creative, and you got to find some great opportunities to increase the value and be thrifty about how you do it.
Yeah, which is the whole entire point, right?
Right.
Yeah,
exactly.
So that's what we want to show you today. You know, actually, we're going to walk through this house together for the first time. So we've not even gone through and tried to come up with a plan yet for design or what needs to be done or what we can maybe not do. So it's going to be fun. We're going to take you along that journey with us. So we're going to start right now outside. So there's, you know, we're in probably an 1880s. I'm thinking about 1880s house.
Sure.
And little bungalow type house, right? So they always had this tongue and groove type ceiling on the porch, and always a nice front porch, because that's how people lived back then. But so what do you think? We could easily fix this.
Yeah, this will just get cleaned up. We'll tear out the carpet here. There's hardwood underneath. There's a wood decking there, and we'll probably just clean that up. It'll be interesting to see what's under here yet, so we just don't know. But likely we'll just clean up the wood that's there, potentially add another layer of wood there that would enhance it, and we'll see.
Maybe even paint it.
Potentially,
like a fun,
yeah. It could be
period color, yeah.
Sure,
okay.
Sure.
All right, well.
Really depends on what the condition of that surface is, and it does feel really solid.
Yeah.
So I think we'll be able to reuse it.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we're gonna go inside now. All right, so coming into the property, we've got a bit of a conundrum here, right? With a double door situation that's not aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, and it looks like they used this as a security door at some point. It just wasn't the right type of thing. And obviously this is an older door with a nice, glass entryway, but it doesn't lend itself to be the most secure door. So I can see why they do that, and we could actually add, there's other types of security doors that we could add if we wanted to keep this period type door here. But we may have to change it too. So we'll have to see what options are available to us there.
I hope we can keep it, only because when you're doing homes like this, you're trying not to rip out all the character. You don't want to just rip everything out and white box it. It's just not the way to, if you can. So if we could keep that, maybe even if we did like a metal screen door.
Yes, you could. That's exactly like a barred screen door would be a nice way to do it.
That could give the security and then keep the look nice.
Right, and we love to have glass front entryway doors. It does let a lot of natural light in. Yeah, and they have the old hardware on here, but we wouldn't be able to get that exact hardware on the other side, so it's going to take a little bit of monkeying around. And you can see they obviously had some animals scratching at the door, so refinishing this door is going to be a bit of a challenge. But if we can do it, we certainly will try and will.
It's so great. And like this type of house, you've got the moldings, you've got these great bases, really high bases, just not the things that we're used to in today's
absolutely. I think that's great hardwood floors in here, great old school oak moldings. This is original and to the period of the home.
Yeah.
I really like, it's interesting, this is a mission style trim. So you have the overhangs, a lot of times they had pretty ornate and kind of fancier looking curved.
Like Victorian type
Victorian type molding. So this is actually more in the style of what's happening today with this classic mission style.
Yeah.
So this is a really cool trim to work with. It's actually a little easier to work with too. It's not as much coping and cutting. So if we have to replace some pieces, you can actually see where the trim is actually blocked. As opposed to just mitered, so that's kind of an interesting and kind of older process. So it's kind of it'll be neat to do.
Yeah, super cool. Okay, so we're going to start through, like we said, this is the foyer. We have original light, original door. We're going to try to keep that. What do you think as far as the wood? Do we want to try to just clean it up? We're not going to paint it, right?
No, we're going to try not to paint it. Ultimately, painting wood, especially when you're dealing with the windows, can be pretty problematic with the moisture and that kind of thing. So we prefer not to do that. And likely, when you see the rest of the trim here and the windows here, I think we're going to keep it as is. There are some painted areas with the trim already, so that we'll have to repaint. But the stuff that's been left in its natural state, we'll try to keep there.
All right. Okay, let's get started. So we're in the living room / dining room area, and when you start to look around, it has house is really pretty good condition for its age, you know?
Certainly is.
And so we want to try to, again, not rip out character, not take something that was set in a certain era and then make it look like it's completely disjointed. You can do that really easily, especially in today's design world where so many older trends are back. That makes the materials available, that makes the coloring available with your paints and your finishes. So it's actually pretty simple to do. So my idea for this room would be to come in and keep the wood, obviously clean everything up, but paint it a really warm, creamish color, right?
Yeah, I think that would be great. And with the oak tones, you can't go with the stark white.
No.
You gotta have a little warm tone. And we want to balance that. There's some, interesting, like I'm wondering about the half wall here. Obviously the wallpaper
chair
goes
railing,
away.
yeah.
Do we take the chair rail out? You might in this particular case, you might not, and really,
I'd leave it.
You leave it?
I would.
Great. I think you could, and obviously the light goes away. We changed some of that.
Yeah.
And they've already started some demolition in this house, so we'll see that the kitchen is kind of torn apart, and we'll have some ideas there. But there's a really cool brick in there too that we may end up wanting to save,
yeah.
so we'll talk about that.
Well, and this is actually pretty simple. So the bottom line to this type of space, when you're looking at this, it's not really overwhelming at all because the wood is there. We'll have to do a little bit of patchwork on the plaster, but just painting it and taking that old paper off, painting that again, maybe a 2 different color version, and then you've really brought this completely back to life.
Yeah, and you're gonna have to redo the flooring here. This is, all this will be sanded and refinished, but we're gonna keep the period floor. I mean, this floor is probably 100 years old, right?
Yeah,
so,
and it's in phenomenal shape.
Yeah, so it's always interesting refinishing floors that are this old. They really go through the sanding because they've gotten so hard through the years. It's actually really tough on the guys who actually do the refinishing. They just a lot of work and a lot of sandpaper that they go through in that process. So.
Oh my gosh,
but they look beautiful.
Yeah, all right, so let's go on into the kitchen next. Okay, so everybody's favorite part normally is the kitchen. It's a little dark in here, but we've got all the light that we can do. So what do you think right off the top?
Well, I mean, I think that this brick is really neat, and
yes.
I'm excited to kind of just
design around it.
Around it, use it as a design element. We're going to be doing, I don't think we're going to replace the entire cabinets, but we have a company that's called Quick Kit that will do all new doors and drawers. So it'll feel like it's new. We'll paint all the cabinets, and that way we can leave these soffits, and you're not really changing all that much. It does keep the cost down and a lot less labor, and really it does give it a fresh and clean look, so it's gonna look new.
Well, and you want to try to be sustainable when you can, right? When flipping a home, you don't want to just rip out materials and put them back in the landfill just because. Not only is it a cost saving measure, it's a time saving measure, which is extremely important when flipping a home, right? But you're not putting all of that extra material back out for no reason. So like you said, just by changing the facing and changing the hardware, you can bring this kitchen back to life. And when you're lucky enough to have a brick veneer that's pretty much through on all surfaces, that is such a great way to bring in a period design and just richen the whole thing up. So I'm very glad to see the brick.
Yeah, and this is a pretty tight kitchen, and actually where the camera is sitting, we'll show you kind of a look here, but the refrigerator goes over here. There was a stove here that just wasn't centered properly, so we're just moving a couple of elements there just so that we can center a nice stove and have the upper cabinets match a little bit. So a little bit of work to do there, but other than that, that's pretty much it. And again, we're trying to design on a budget here and make sure that we can keep this house at a value point that the neighborhood supports. Yeah. And so we only can do so much.
You don't want to over improve any of your projects, so that's exactly right. So I think the floor, the walls, like you said, resurfacing cabinetry.
All new countertops, obviously. We likely will do butcher block here, would be my guess.
That would be perfect for this era home too. And then a new sink.
Yeah,
with fixtures, of course. Okay. Yeah. And then like you said, we would have to repaint this trim because it's been painted at some point versus the brown, so.
Well, one other thing, so we bought this house dead of winter, and didn't get in here fast enough to put, we have these indicators that tell you when the temperatures drop. And when you're in the process of remodeling homes in the winter, you just never know when furnaces are gonna go out, and this one did. And luckily we were able to get the water turned off here, but there was still water in some of the lines. So there was a couple of pipes that burst that we had to have fixed, and just make sure that you're doing those types of things. So really, winter remodeling in Wisconsin, in the Midwest, you really need to be watching out for your waters, it's such a big, your furnace is a huge thing, and you need to do the maintenance on it, but really having some sort of indicator on there that, a lot of people are using different thermostats that give them that indication, or we have little boxes that we put in the houses that help us understand the temperature differences.
Yeah.
But really important to know as you're starting to get into these types of remodels.
Yeah, absolutely. No matter where you live in the country, if you live in the northern tier, the southern tier, there's always a weather element to consider,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so I think, what do you want to head upstairs?
Sure, let's check out what's upstairs.
Okay, so upstairs there's 2 beds and 1 bath,
Yes.
but a couple of really cool things that we've discovered.
Yeah, cool little niches up here, which one of them, very accessible, that's already been framed out.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it was the same on either side at one point, because this is the exact same lead glass door that is on the other side, so we'll take a look at that in a second.
Yes.
But it opens up to this, cool little niche for your bedroom, and
Right.
for a kid's room, it could be a really neat little feature.
Well, and that's a big thing right now, is to build out like under the stairs, or in this roof line situation, and you just make it like a little reading area. A lot of people do pet areas and these types of things, kids spaces, hang out. So it's a really popular thing right now that we can take advantage of in an older house like this.
Yeah, well, and you had mentioned too, I was commenting on the fact that the trim up here is painted all the same color as the walls, and for me, that's just like a it drives me nuts.
Yep.
But I guess there's a new design thing out there that's
Yes.
called color immersion.
Yeah, color flush, color immersion, color flood, color all this stuff, exactly. And it simply means that instead of doing like a white ceiling and then a colored wall and then a trim color like we've seen for a long time, it's really like a mid-1800s pullback. So you're washing the entire room in one tone, meaning the ceiling, the trim, the wall, doors, bookshelves that are built in, everything is immersed in one color. It's very popular right now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We may want to try it here.
This would be the perfect house for that.
Since it's already done, the trim is already painted, to try to bring this back is pretty difficult. Plus the windows are already painted.
Yeah, there's no point.
This would be a really great spot to try something like that.
And it's a perfect era house to do it in. So I'm excited about that, actually.
Cool.
Take a negative and make it a positive.
That's right.
All
Maybe we'll take a look at the
Yeah,
bathroom
let's go
next.
look at the bathroom, yeah. Okay, we're in the 1 bathroom.
One bathroom.
One
Now
bathroom.
I feel like there's a half bath downstairs too, in the basement.
In the basement. Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So we'll see that in a bit. But yeah, this is just a nice, cozy little bathroom. Really not a lot to do here. I mean, I think we'll put a new vanity in. I think we'll likely clean up the tub. I may end up replacing it depending on what the budget allows. It looks dirty now, but it's amazing what you'll be able to do when you clean these things up.
I don't see like any cracks or big marks that would, constitute replacing it. I think this could be a cleanup with new fixtures.
Yeah, and you would be surprised that this is probably only 5 to 10 years old, would be my guess. It might even be newer than that.
Maybe, yeah, because of the squares.
But it's just dirty.
It's just dirty.
It just needs to be cleaned up and recaulked. And again, I think new fixtures in here, you'll be
would
good.
totally do it. And the same, like you said, you've got the wood here, so I think we would keep that. And again, what makes these little bathrooms sort of cool sometimes is when you have that roof line pitch like that, it just brings some character to it,
See
right?
this little light here?
Yeah.
Right, the different place for the
That's a
vanity
very
light.
different place for me.
And then there's another light there. So I'm sure we'll make some adjustments there.
Yeah.
But
Simple, easy stuff, though. Yeah.
Well, let's head down to the basement and kind of see what we have there for foundation issues or HVAC, mechanicals, that kind of stuff, and we'll be done.
Okay. All right, so we're downstairs, and the first thing that you see when you come down here is that it's a 50s remodel, right? And you can tell that by the type of paneling that's put on. It's that wide, it's just that 50s look. So, what is that, 70 or 75 years ago?
Yeah, probably.
The basement was done. So what do you think?
Well, this is going to be an interesting space. Again, we're not going to spend a lot of money in this space. It's got to just get cleaned up entirely. We'll put new flooring down and just tidy it all up. And really, there's not too much to do, but it's a finished area for the most part.
Yeah.
And as we kind of go through here, you've got another back room that has a cool barn door. And
Which is so crazy, right? You just think about that from then. That's pretty interesting. That naughty time.
Yeah, the hinge here is, as you can hear, is a little sticky, but it's certainly something that can be just tuned up a little bit and be better. There's kind of a back room here that certainly wouldn't be considered a bedroom, but nice little office area.
Would it not be? Is that not considered egress?
Yeah, it's not an egress. It's not a big enough window for egress.
Okay. But there's all of these little weird doors that are built in.
Yeah, there's some more cabinets. This is like an area
storage,
where there's
right? Cabinetry
storage.
And all of that. There's another one here.
Yeah.
Just stuff, places.
And then there's an
stuff.
unfinished side over here that, interestingly enough, so the furnace here is, we don't understand why it was shut off. I think the gas company may have shut off the gas when we were making that shift, because this is a newer Lennox furnace. It looks like a newer water heater. There's a water softener here. And interestingly enough, I mentioned the toilet here in the basement, and I just was wondering, Michelle, if you know what that's for, what that originally was not designed for back then.
I don't know. I don't know what that would be for, other than for maybe kids or workers or what.
Kids is on track. Actually, these toilets were installed in homes back before there was disposable diapers. And so people would put a commode in the basement, and that's where they would come rinse out their linen diaper.
That's real?
That's real. And they would come down, rinse out their linen diaper in that toilet and flush it. Obviously wouldn't flush the diaper, but they would get rid of the soils in there, and then they would rinse it off in a sink. But that's where they would put the disposal.
I couldn't have guessed that if I had to. No, never would have guessed that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a learning lesson for the day.
And so we have, a nice area for laundry down here. We have a nice wash sink that will be, I'm sure, improved. But again, this is an unfinished space, and in a lot of these basements, this seems to be a pretty dry basement.
Yeah, it really is.
The foundation overall, from what we can see, seems to be in good shape. There's not a lot of sagging throughout this house, so structurally it's in pretty good shape.
It doesn't have a basement smell. You would think that a house of this age with this type of finish, it would smell terrible or moldy or something. It doesn't at all.
No, it's actually, it's a really nice, dry, and well put together basement for the age of the house.
Yeah, it really is. So I think this could be super simple. Like you said, we're just going to do the flooring. We're going to clean up the cobwebs and dust it out a little bit, and that's it.
Yeah, looks great. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on this one.
Yeah.
Looking forward to bringing it back to you guys when we finish this. We're hoping this one will only take 30 to 45 days. We have a smaller budget, trying to keep it under 20,000. We'll see if we can do that. It's not always possible. There's some work outside in the driveway that needs to be done. And we'll see how far we take it, but we'll see in about a month.
But we love before and afters, so make sure you subscribe to the channel first off. But we always do before and afters for these projects. So if you love that like we do, make sure you watch for that second video of each of these projects too. But thanks for joining us today. And of course, we'll be back for many other videos in the future. See you next time.
Thanks, bye.